Hi guys, Daniel here from Germany. Today with the video about the Siai Marchetti, and I'm finished. The model is ready for the first flight. But before we do the first flight, I want to show you a couple of things. I did different, like the normal assembling of a ARF model. I mean, the servos and everything is always the same. I just did a couple of things different with the wiring of the cables from the servos and from the power system, and that I want to show you. Here we have the motor and the ESC. On the ESC I have two sensors, and the motor on the ESC I have one sensor, and the motor I have one sensor. For the telemetry system I can read the temperatures of the motor and the ESC on the flight. That's important for me, not always, but in the first flights I want to know how is the temperature of the motor and the ESC. Then what I have is double dual power system for the receivers. Then I have two receivers from FlySky. This is the main receiver, an S8R with stabilization, 3-axis stabilization, and I have a X8R for the, I think, the slave functions like landing gear, landing flaps, and yes, the main functions are all on the main receiver: the rudders, the ailerons, the elevator, and I think on the second receiver is the lights, landing gear, like I said. Here I have a light module, and here is the battery for the lights. Here is the rudder servo. Everything default things, I think. Here are the cables for the main battery. That's all default. Now I turn off the model and I want to show you what I did different. Okay, here you can see the underneath of the model. Here is the servo for the steering from the front gear. Here is the front gear, landing gear, and here are the cables from the servos and from the power system for the receivers. Here's the dual butt power system. I'm using 6 volts on the whole model for the servos. And what I did is, normally when you wiring the servos on a model is you using extension cables, or you make yourself extension cables and you plug the servos directly to the receiver. What I did is I just plug the signal wires from the servos direct to the receiver, and all the power cables, plus and minus, goes to a power distribution board. And here the connection for the wings, I have two XT60 connectors. They are just for the power cables from the aileron, flaps and landing gears, plus and minus from the wings. And all the other cables goes to this 8-pin multiplex connectors. There are just signal wires on these connectors, and of course the signal wires from the servos, and of course the light wires from the wings. I have in the wings navigational lights, red and green, and some flashes on both sides, and they're also here on these multiplex connectors. The whole power cables, plus and minus, from the servos goes above these XT60 connectors. Now when I assemble the wing, then I plug in the XT60 connectors. This is for the power connection, and I plug in the multiplex connection for the signal wires. And here is how it look like. Everything goes on this power distribution board. It's normal for quadcopters. It's big enough. I think that handles 100 amps or something like this. And the complete signal wires going direct to the receivers. I think this very safety wiring. I don't know who somebody do this also, or but I want to show you how I did this connection. I can show you quick the connection on the wings, how it look like. Now on each wing I have two connectors. I have the 8-pin multiplex connector, and I have a XT60 connector for the power connection. And that's all. Here you can see the lights on the wings. And this is what I did different. And now I assemble back the cowling, and after that I want to assemble the whole model and take it outside on the garden. And after the assembling in the garden, I want to test some functions, show you some functions, the landing gear, the lights, the flaps and everything. And you can see the model in all its glory. And after that we can do the maiden flight. Then see you soon. Bye.